Welcome to another video for WinBid Pro version 16. This one by GDS Estimating. In this one I'd like to talk about a settings feature we have that's called layer settings. And I can go to settings menu, layer settings, and it brings up this big kind of toolbox over on the right side of the window and of the program window. And I can actually click in this header here and move it to another monitor if I wanted to, put it somewhere just on top of the drawing. But if I want to do that and then put it back to where it was, I can click and drag, and then you'll see this little arrow on the right. There's arrows at all four sides of the window, but this is kind of the ideal place for it, so that's why we start there. But layer settings has everything to do with what's on your drawing and what's visible, how it looks, what color it is, what kind of pattern it's showing, like this row of glass here. There's fill patterns, and I can see, first of all, you can make things invisible or not by clicking the little eyeball icons here. So if I want my glass to be invisible on the drawing, based on whatever color you have, you can turn it off and on. So now that I make it visible, takes a second and then it comes back. So we've got location codes for glass. So basically things are kind of organized by category, let's say. So frames have all their different settings for if I want adapters to be a certain color that's different than, doors and face covers and receptors and all that kind of stuff. So you can change the colors. You can hide things, you can make them visible, and the X is like if you want to exclude it from an export. So I'll get into how you can actually save these types of settings for different purposes in a minute. But basically we've got our categories. So for glass, we have fill patterns that are kind of the default, and then to jump over to something else, we can actually change the fill pattern for each type of glass. So that's why on this one there's a crosshatch. I've selected crosshatch here, and if I click in here, it brings up a list of the different fill patterns. So that's something that you can have a default for every piece of glass, but then you can also customize different types of glass if you like. So yeah, all the different settings, there's a ton of them. I can actually scroll down and it goes pretty far. So every time we add new features, there's probably, especially if it shows up on the drawing window, like here's a still in beta but operable window feature where I've got an awning window over a fixed window, and I can zoom in on this. So I've got some settings in here that are specific to the operable window, and we have its own little category for settings here. So like these little panel index numbers, I can actually turn those off. And let's see, when I turn them off, now when I zoom in, I don't see the number 1 and 2. So the number 1 and 2 kind of identifies if you have a 3-panel operable window. It helps identify which panel you're looking at. But yeah, there's tons of different settings here, so you really have to take your time and look at them and decide what you like to see all the time, what you want to see when you do a printout, let's say your shop drawings print, or even what you want to see when you export. So it's something that, like I say, it's growing. There's new settings all the time, so keep yourself familiar and up to date with this. But there's way too many settings to go over each one in a video like this. But basically, I want to kind of familiarize you with where this is, how you make changes to it. It's simple. Like if I want my doors to be a different color rather than that magenta color, you can pick all these different colors that are here, which are kind of overwhelming. There's standard colors at the bottom, and then there's advanced, which you get like a color spectrum. So you can actually move this up into the more orangey spectrum if you want, and I can choose that for my doors. So I think all you have to do is you pick a different color from that little spectrum thing and you click off of it, and then it selects it that way. So there's really no save or set kind of button like that. So basically you just click out of it and then it sets wherever you left it. So all those different things can happen with anything that has this color selection next to it. And then there's a lot of things that are just on and off, like dimensions. There's so many different dimensions on the drawings that sometimes you don't want to see a certain dimension, and you can turn them off and leave them off, really. But the other thing I wanted to mention was you can save configurations. So this is like the default configuration where kind of everything's on. Although I do have, like for glass, the rake dimension is off. We have a couple things turned off here, but that might have been saved to this default configuration. So you can actually have different configurations by clicking in here. You can see that we've created a few extra ones just playing around. But you can have them for exporting. You can have them for shop drawings. You can have them if all you want to see is glass and no framing material. So really you can decide if all I want to see is my back members and not face covers and pressure plates and all that kind of stuff. So you can really fine tune it and then save the configuration and then use that configuration depending on what you're doing, like printing or exporting or looking for certain components on your drawings. But basically a new configuration is just a matter of clicking the plus sign, giving it a name, and then you can even have a copy from what you're looking at and then start modifying it and then save it. So I can save that and then I can later on edit it and turn some things on and off, change some settings and then save it again. So it's kind of a pretty powerful tool in terms of changing the way your drawing looks and what's visible at the time that you need it. So it takes a little bit of time to kind of go through all this, but definitely be comfortable with it, even down to determining what kind of text is displayed down here under the description. So these are like codes, and there's a little help thing we can click on here that shows kind of what we call variables. So the elevation code is the number 1, 2, 3, or it's something that you can actually define when you go to your elevations. Like if I edit an elevation here, this is the code it's talking about, but I can actually put anything I want there. I can say A2, and then that's my new code. So if I want that to show up down here and everything, I have control over that over on the right here. So basically, everything you see, like I say, on your drawing window here is configurable, and it's all in this layer settings. So get familiar with that when you have a chance, and keep an eye out for new videos. Thanks.